Hey guys, Kyle here. Let's talk about pre-flight real quick. Some of the things I like to do and some of the things that a lot of the guys out of the field do. These are some of the items that we do every single time before we fly an airplane. When I go to work as an airline pilot, I'll meet my first officer about an hour and a half before the flight. It may be somebody that I've never met before. We can climb into the cockpit and have an incredibly safe flight because of SOPs, standard operating procedures. SOPs are huge when it comes to full-scale airplanes. Why do we do? It's standardized. Everything is standardized. Why is it standardized? Because it's a safe method, proven method. We do it over and over and over to maintain high safety factors. And when you're flying with somebody, you know kind of how they're going to fly. It's not just about checklists. It's about how you set up the cockpit, how you do things. I know what that pilot's going to be doing, so he knows what, or he or she knows what I'm going to be doing. So it becomes a very safe cockpit environment. So I do the same thing every time I fly model airplanes as well. Starting with the airplane, I do a battery check, gas or electric. Check your batteries right before flight. I take my battery checker with me to the table. I check my battery before it goes into the airplane. I don't care if I just charged it at home. I know the battery's charged. I don't care. I still check it before I put it in the airplane just to make sure. We had a flyer have one of the new Spectrum batteries. He charged it at home. He thought it was fully charged. It went into its automatic discharge function, and he didn't know it, and put an empty battery in his airplane. Check your batteries before flight. It takes 2 seconds. Another thing is I usually taxi out a little bit, and I'll do a full control check. Left, right, up, down. Make sure the controls are going in the right direction. Make sure they're smooth. You can also check the linkages. I don't check the linkages out before every flight, but it's probably a good idea to do that. Hopefully you'll see some issue with a control check if your linkages are screwed up, but you might catch a screw coming out or something's getting loose. So physically check those linkages. And then when it comes to the transmitter, like in an airliner, the overhead panel, you guys can all imagine all the switches, and they're either push button or actual switches. Some of them will light up. So before takeoff, it will be a black panel, no lights. That means we're good to go. Or all switches will be either all forward or all aft. And that's designed that way for safety. We just know everything's kind of set up and ready to go. So when it comes to the transmitter, all of my switches are forward before takeoff. All of them. I do have the engine kill switch that's down right now.
Motor on.
And it'll be
Motor off.
obviously forward for takeoff, and it would be forward if I was taxiing out a gas-powered airplane. But all my switches, even if I have altimetry, telemetry, I have airspeed telemetry, even those switches, I'm all forward for takeoff. My flaps are forward. That means my flaps are up. Most of my takeoffs are without flaps, but if you have a little bit of flaps, that might be back a little bit.
Flaps full. Flaps up.
But having all switches forward is the safe way to do it. I heard of guys taking off in low rates. Oh, I accidentally took off in low rates. This didn't work out very well. So have your switches, set up your switches so they're all forward. So you know your transmitter's pre-flighted, ready to go. And range check is crucial. You can leave your airplane on the bench, walk away from it, do a control check, what I like to do is taxi my airplane. I'll taxi my airplane out, maybe even all the way to the end of the runway if I'm doing an initial range check. But taxi your airplane out to a decent distance where you can still see the controls. Move your controls, make sure that range check is good. My transmitter also has an antenna on the display that tells me the reception of my transmitter and how it's doing. So those are just some of the basic concepts of the pre-flight. Try to get into a rhythm, try to get into a standardized SOP, and do the same thing every time. Thanks, guys. Remember, airspeed's everything. Talk to you soon.